The Cursed Yearbook. Chapter 1. The Discovery. Everly Sinclair never believed in school legends, but when she stumbled upon an old dust-covered yearbook in the depths of Ravenwood Academy's library, she couldn't ignore the eerie feeling creeping up her spine. The book was unlike any she'd seen before, its pages brittle, ink faded, and yet the pictures of students from decades past were hauntingly clear. The dim glow of the library lamps cast unsettling shadows across the pages, making the faces appear almost alive. But what truly sent shivers down her spine was a page filled with photos of students who, according to school rumors, had mysteriously vanished without a trace. As she flipped through, Everly's stomach dropped. Her own face appeared in a picture she had never posed for. The photo was dated a week in the future. A distant whisper echoed through the aisles, though no one else was there. The air turned cold, and from the corner of her eye, she swore she saw a shadow shift unnaturally between the bookshelves. She reached out to touch the image, and the surface of the paper felt warm, almost pulsing, as if it were alive. A creak from behind her made her spin around, her breath caught in her throat. The towering shelves loomed over her, the books seeming to close in. Then a chilling voice rasped near her ear. "You've been chosen." Chapter 2. The Missing Students. Determined to solve the mystery, Everly began digging into school archives, only to find records wiped clean. Names of missing students were absent from every school ledger, their existence erased as though they had never been there at all. Whispers of a secret club, the Remembered, echoed through the shadows, a group said to be cursed by the yearbook itself. She found an old notebook, its pages yellowed and frayed, with frantic scribblings from a student named Eleanor Bishop. The book knows when you look. The book watches. The book takes. When she confided in her best friend, Theo, he dismissed it as paranoia, until his own face appeared in the book the next morning. The two delved deeper, uncovering cryptic messages left behind in hidden corners of the school. The book sees. The book takes. Every student who had gone missing had one thing in common. They had all found the yearbook first. That night, as Everly lay in bed, she felt something unseen brush against her cheek. She bolted upright, only to find her window open, though she had locked it before sleeping. A figure stood outside, unmoving, its elongated limbs bent at unnatural angles. It had no face, only a smooth, featureless void where its eyes should have been. Then, it moved. Chapter 3. The Yearbook's Secret. Late one night, Everly and Theo snuck back into the library, determined to destroy the cursed book. But as they reached for it, the air grew icy and the bookshelves trembled. The yearbook flipped open on its own, pages fluttering wildly before settling on a blank page. Slowly, ink bled across the parchment, spelling out their names. Panic clawed at Everly's chest. Theo grabbed the book, his fingers turning white from the cold emanating from it. The ground beneath them shuddered, and books flew from the shelves, their pages ripping midair. They tore through the library, overturning desks and prying open hidden compartments until they found a collection of forgotten student records. Their names were all crossed out in crimson ink. The deeper they read, the more horrifying the truth became. Every 20 years, the yearbook claimed a new set of students, erasing their existence from history. The only way to break the cycle was to destroy the book before it could claim them next. But as Theo tried to tear a page, a piercing scream echoed through the library. The book resisted, its pages writhing like living flesh. A sudden gust of wind snuffed out every candle, plunging them into darkness. Something moved between the aisles, breathing heavily. Then, a cold skeletal hand grasped Everly's wrist, its fingers like iron nails sharp enough to pierce skin. Chapter 4: The Vanishing. Everly awoke to a nightmare. Theo was gone, his dorm room stripped bare, his belongings missing. His name had vanished from the student roster, and when she asked about him, no one remembered. She tore through the hallways in a panic, but all she found was silence. Racing to the library, she saw his picture in the yearbook, now with empty eyes and a faded smile. A chill wrapped around her like an unseen hand. As she stared in horror, she noticed something even worse. Her own reflection in the book was fading. Desperate, she tried to warn the others, but with every passing hour, she felt herself growing distant, the world around her slipping out of reach. The curse was closing in. That night, shadows slithered along her dorm walls, creeping toward her bed. The whispers returned, louder this time, calling her name in voices that belonged to no one living. The moment she shut her eyes, she felt something lean over her, its breath ice cold against her ear. "You're next." When she turned her head, she wasn't in her dorm anymore. She stood in the school hallway, but it was wrong. The walls were cracked and decayed, the ceiling blackened with rot. The doors had no handles, no way to escape, and down the corridor, walking toward her in eerie synchronization, were the missing students. Their faces hollow, their eyes like empty sockets. "Join us, Everly," they whispered, their voices overlapping in a sickening harmony. Chapter 5: Breaking the Curse. With no other choice, Everly turned to the one person who might hold answers. The school's oldest teacher, Miss Holloway, who had once been rumored to disappear but had mysteriously returned. Miss Holloway revealed that the yearbook was enchanted by a former headmaster, a man obsessed with youth and power, who had sealed away the souls of students to maintain his own immortality. The only way to end it was to confront the book in the place it was created, the forbidden catacombs beneath the school. Armed with courage and a flickering lantern, Everly descended into the darkness, shadows stretching unnaturally along the stone walls. The deeper she went, the more she felt unseen eyes watching. And then she saw them. The missing students, trapped within the pages of the book, their faces frozen in silent screams. A grotesque figure stood at the book's center, its skeletal fingers turning the cursed pages. Its hollow mouth stretched wide, as though screaming in eternal torment. With trembling hands, she lifted the book and whispered the incantation Miss Holloway had given her. The ground trembled, the walls groaned, the book's pages curled inward, a piercing wail filling the air as the trapped souls were released. The figure let out an ear-splitting shriek before crumbling into dust. As the book disintegrated in her hands, Everly collapsed. When she awoke, Theo was shaking her, his face full of concern. The book was gone, the curse was broken, but deep in the shadows of the library, something shifted. A reminder that some stories never truly end.